Mickey just revealed that in preparation, she fell asleep and drank a beer.
Hey, do you wanna see that movie? Do you wanna see that movie? Do you wanna see that movie?
Showtime. Welcome
You
to.
suck.
Hey, did you ever see that movie? I'm your host, Des. And as always, I'm joined by my annoyed co-host, Lynn.
Somebody in this camp ain't what he appears to be. Right now, maybe one of two of us. By spring, it could be all of us.
Okay. And joining us again, the podcaster with the green terror, Tony. And as a last-minute surprise, joining us tonight, the podcaster with 1,000 potions and no picture on the promo, Mickey.
Hey guys, it was so last minute I couldn't find a quote.
Okay. This week we will be discussing the 1984 horror sci-fi movie The Thing, written by Bill Lancaster and directed by John Carpenter, starring Kurt Russell, Keith David, and Wilford Brimley. As always, this movie podcast will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it, then come back and listen to the show. Dylan, did you add movie to podcast? You threw me off. As always, this podcast will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it, then come back and listen to the show.
Listen.
Don't add shit. Don't add shit to my script.
I add what I need to add to make it sound right.
Yeah, step into my office. You're fucking fired.
Oh, am I? Bye.
Okay. And now it's time for another installment of Disaster Piece Theater. So sit back, grab some popcorn, and enjoy the show. Welcome to Disaster Piece Theater, where me and my two co-hosts will act out one scene from the movie that we are reviewing for you this evening. So please, sit back, grab some popcorn, and enjoy the show.
Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Hey, what's up? I got here as soon as I could. Anybody seen Funches? Somebody blew out a fuse in the lab. Lights were out in there for over an hour. Any one of us could have got to him. All right, we gotta find him. Hey, Nels, say hi to your mom for me, huh? Why don't you come with me? We'll go out and look outside, all right? Palmer, you on windows, check the inside.
I ain't going with those. I ain't going with them. I'll go with Childs.
Hey, fuck you, Palmer.
Who says I want you going with me?
Cut the bullshit, all right? Windows, you come with us. Norris, you stay here. Any of them move, you fry them. You hear anything at all. You cut loose, you're on the side. We'll be back here in 20 minutes. Regardless, everybody watch you, whoever you're with. And remember, say hi to your mom for me.
Cut! Cut! Cut!
Say hi to your mother for me.
Well, first of all, you did write nails.
No, I didn't.
It's Knowles.
No, I didn't. I did not. You did that.
The Lynn went DMX on us, so that's all right.
Yeah. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here, up in here. No, I am looking at the script that I sent to Tony and Mickey, and it says Knowles. It does not say nails.
How do you spell nails? How do you? I didn't change
Nail.
Okay, and it says Nails.
Yeah,
nails.
You changed it because it's Nauls in what I sent them, and
Nauls.
that's all I copied. And I copied that right into this document.
I didn't change anything. You fucking sabotaged me.
And it's not Ron Punches, it's Fuchs. I said Ron Punches in the movie. That's a whole other different kind of movie.
Hey, it's Funches. You tell me that doesn't sound like Mark Wahlberg to you?
No.
Hey, guys. All right. This is what happens when we start after 9. Like fucking... All right. Okay. And now it's time for Dez's 4-in-1 fun and 1 fake fact, where it will be up to my 3 co-hosts to decide which fact is total bullshit. Fact number 1, John Carpenter has stated that of all his films, this one is his personal favorite. Number 2, Kurt Russell took a drag on a cigarette at the beginning of certain shots in order to make the breath appear more visible. Fun fact number 3, One day after shooting a scene with the flamethrower, Kurt Russell pulled a practical joke on John Carpenter by covering his face and head with bandages and claiming he had gotten burned. Fun fact number 4. It took about a year for Kurt Russell to grow the famous beard and hair McReady sports. And number 5, Chris Christoph.
Already? Like McLovin? McCready, Jesus Christ. You're pissing all over this movie and hasn't even fucking started talking about it yet.
McReady. Okay, McReady. Okay, and number 5, Chris Christopherson was John Carpenter's very first choice for the role of McReady, and he was heartbroken when Chris turned the role down to play the part of Jack Cates in the 1982 blockbuster 48 Hours, which he went on to win an Oscar for. Delyn, which of the 5 facts is total bullshit?
The 5 facts. I'm gonna say the 5 facts. I'm gonna say it was him taking a drag on the cigarette.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I
Did you
don't
listen
fucking
to
know.
number 5? He turned down the role to play the part of Jack Cates in the
Number
1982 blockbuster 48
Five is
Hours,
alive.
which he went on to win an Oscar for. Chris Christopherson was John Carpenter's very first choice for the role. Okay, this is a farce. I'm not even going through the list. Number 5 is fake. It was a joke. Okay.
Wow.
This has gone right down.
Wow.
Nick
Holy
Nolte,
shit.
Nick Nolte played Jack Cates, and there was no Oscar won for it. Okay. With a budget of $15 million and a box office gross of only $19.6 million,
Bullshit.
this movie was considered a bit of a flop.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know why, but they say it's because it went up against E.T. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think that they said that had something to do with it.
Well, it was released the same weekend as something else as well. I'm trying to remember what the hell it was now. Yeah, E.T.
doesn't
came out
matter
around the
what
same
it
one,
went
the
up.
friendly alien.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't matter what it went up against. This movie should have been a fucking a home run, a grand slam. Glenn, will you please give us a synopsis? And let's try and go up from here. Let's try and go up from here.
I'm doing my best.
All right, DMX,
Okay.
let's do this thing.
Y'all gonna make me lose my mind.
Oh, don't do that
All
again.
right. In remote Antarctica, a group of American research scientists are disturbed at their base camp by a helicopter shooting at a sled dog. When they take in the dog, it brutally attacks both human beings and canines in the camp, and they discover that the beast can assume the shape of its victims. A resourceful helicopter pilot and camp doctor lead the camp crew in a desperate, gory battle against the vicious creature before it picks them all off one by one.
Let's have some opening thoughts on this. I'll start. First of all, there's a strange little movie going on in the bottom right corner of the fucking computer tonight. It's the Tony show. Like last week it was distracting when I had music videos on. I don't even know what's going on. This little fucking screen. But okay. Okay. So opening thoughts. I haven't seen this since I was a little kid, so this was basically a fresh watch for me, like almost like watching it for the first time. I'm going to tip my hand and just say that I thought this movie was brilliant. I just couldn't fucking believe how good it was. And this is a true story. I was telling Delyn, so she made like this turkey casserole, and like I was eating it while I was watching this movie, and fucking it literally got to the point where I just couldn't eat because the movie was grossing me out. It was making my casserole feel like a head with legs. Yeah. So yeah, I lost my appetite. I put the casserole aside. And the visual effects on this for 1982 were fucking stunning. This felt like an early 90s movie for me from that aspect. And like we just watched Creepshow, which came out 2 years after this, and I thought the effects fucking smoked Creepshow, in my opinion. Mickey, what did you think? Opening thoughts on this?
I agree. And it was funny because I said to to my husband, he watched it with me, and first off, now he wants a flamethrower. But I said, this is one of those movies where you can't do CGI effects for this. Like you can't. The effects in this were so, even like when you look at it now and it looks, compared to some of the effects now, it looks a little dated, but they're so fucking cool. Like
They're so
just
sloppy and like just
Yeah.
repulsive.
It's just
Yeah,
it's
like
a very wet movie.
just watching that opening scene with the chopper and the dog, like it really shows you. I think it kind of sets the tone for, you guys are really, really isolated out here.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Dylan, what were your opening thoughts?
So, I mean, I agree with Mickey. The isolation situation is very obvious. And I watched a behind the scenes thing, and it was showing you how they built it, and it was in Alaska or British Columbia. And, they were very far out, but they were, they could obviously get to where they needed to be and not live on site. But it still gave you, like, they built the set in a way that, like, the, what is
Tony's building a
Tony
Lego
doing?
Death Star.
Yeah. So they built it in a way so that, like, the tree line was hidden behind the building, so you couldn't see it, and you looked like you were really just on that glacier. And that was, like, super cool to me, that there was, they used tricks to make it look even way more desolate than it really was. And I really appreciated that. Of course, me, I didn't want them to shoot the dog because I'm like, it's the poor dog, leave him alone. But I get why they did what they did. It's part of the movie, but yeah.
Tony, what were your opening thoughts?
I mean, you guys really nailed it as far as the isolation goes. That really is what the whole movie's about. Sets the tone. You meet the cast in the first 5 minutes. It's the entire cast shuffles out. The funny part is, and I know I'm getting ahead of the story, but it's like if you ever watch the movie with subtitles, the subtitles actually, the Norwegian guy actually says, that's not a real dog. That's an alien. It has to be destroyed. So it ruins the whole movie for you right there. Exposes everything right there. But I mean, outside of that, it just, I'm going to gush about this movie the entire time. And it's just everything about it. And the fact that it was panned, I can't even grasp. Because I mean, I saw it when it came out, and I was a huge fan, and I loved it. And oh my God, you gotta see this, you gotta see this. It's so gross. It's because I mean, for '82, it was disgusting.
Yeah.
There were very few movies playing in mainstream cinemas that had that level of just squish. So I mean,
for 2023, it was disgusting.
Yeah,
I was grossed out. Like I said, casserole. Done, finished.
And that was one of the big things everybody lost their mind about with the prequel / remake, is that they had these amazing creatures that they built practically, and then the studio came in and was like, nope, we're doing CG, and made everything CG. Which again, it's not. I actually like it. I'm one of the few people that like the prequel remake, but
I enjoyed it.
Looking at the monsters that they have for it, I'm like, that might have been a whole different level of good. It would have elevated it if they left the practical in there.
Yeah, I didn't miss CG at all in this movie. I wouldn't change a fucking beat about this movie. All right, go ahead. Let's get it going.
I will say too, Rob Bottin, or is it Bottin or Botan?
How do you pronounce it? The Italian.
Botan.
Yeah, Bottin.
Yeah, he did most of the special effects for this, and it was his direction, his vision. And there was something in the special, the behind the scenes video where they were talking about, went into his, his studio where he was working, and it was just drums and 5-gallon buckets of KY jelly. And that's how they got all that little squishy, glistening, bleh, like that's all KY jelly. I was like, well, yeah.
And he was
pretty gross.
He was 22 years old when he made this movie.
Yes, he was.
I didn't even know what the hell I was thinking at 22, let alone getting to like the level that he created. Yeah. So, all right.
And he was so into it, he slept on set and worked every single day, all day long, and slept, either in the workshop or on set, and ended up in the hospital because he had overdone it. He had burnt it at both ends. Yeah. And eventually, John Carpenter was like, I think it's time for you to go to the hospital. So Yeah. So luckily we got him to the hospital and he was fine. So, all right, away we go. In our opening shot, an alien spaceship flies through space and enters Earth's atmosphere near Antarctica. Whether or not the ship crashes or lands on Earth is unknown. And I'm just going to stop really quickly here because this is where we get the title. And another cool thing was the title was done with like, Tony, what is it? Is an aquarium in a trash bag?
Yep. It was
Yeah.
and a hair dryer to blow the
Oh my
heat.
God.
The heat blows through it, so it tore through the trash bag, and
Yeah.
the light through the aquarium gave that strobing effect.
It's so cool. It's
Nice.
so cool. And it's like, it's literally like an aquarium with smoke in it. Like, what? So cool. I digress. Let's move on. In Antarctica, during the winter of 1982, a helicopter is chasing a husky dog running through the deep snow. The man riding next to the pilot shoots a rifle and drops grenades, hoping to kill the dog because he's an asshole. Um, the dog runs towards American research base Outpost 31, where a 12-man research crew is getting ready for the upcoming winter. The helicopter, which they see is from a Norwegian research base, flies in and lands. The Americans watch puzzled as the two men emerge from the helicopter, jabbering frantically in Norwegian. One of them pulls the pin on a grenade and clumsily throws it behind him. Again, asshole. As the pilot frantically tries to find it in the snow, it explodes, killing him and blowing up the helicopter as well. The other man continues shooting his rifle hysterically and talking frantically. No one can understand what he's saying, of course, and the man shoots Bennings, played by Peter Maloney, in his left leg. The camp leader, Gary, played by Donald Moffat, shoots and kills the unhinged Norwegian. So, Tony, let's talk about the opening scene for a minute, because I actually, at first, was not happy with the camera work because it was unsteady and it was giving you like that Blair Witch moment, like it was kind of moving.
Mhm.
And then I kind of realized that this might have been a choice that Carpenter made so that you feel discombobulated and a little out of balance right out of the gate.
Oh, that I kind of took it that way. Is that it introduced the chaos that was just at the other camp to this camp, and it's funny because you're right. After the Norwegian is shot, everything steadies out.
Yep.
Everything is you're tracking. It's a lot of close ups. It's like you get the big group shots, but then you have the individual dolly shots across faces, which it's used over and over in this movie, which is just it's looking in the eyes of for a lack of trust. But yeah,
Right.
I do agree with you. I think it was there to introduce the chaos right off the bat.
Right. Des, did you feel anything about this opening scene with the dog?
Well, before we get into that, I thought it was an interesting choice by John Carpenter to beat us over the head with the alien, like right out of the bait. Like first they're going to give us this little like almost like a cartoon of a spaceship flying towards Earth. Like at first I was like, I remember this being animated. Like it literally looked like a cartoon, and it was fine. I mean, I was having fun with it, but I just didn't think it was necessary. I wish, because I thought the shot of the ship crashed in the snow, the ruins of it when they finally get there, looked so good. And it came at the right time in the movie to introduce us to an alien. So this way we wouldn't have been so kind of like, I knew that
Expecting an alien?
yeah, like you knew there was something up with the dog. I mean, it was just obvious because you see the spaceship coming in. And again, it's not a complaint because I'm not going to complain about anything. I was having fun right off the bat. I was pulling for the dog. Thank God that the guy in the helicopter absolutely could not shoot. I mean, this guy's got a rifle with like the super scope. He can't get a shot near this thing. The dog is outrunning the helicopter in a wide open vast. Like it's not like the dog is like cutting left.
As
and
you say, no
cutting right.
zigzag. Yeah.
He's just running straight and outrunning this chopper. The guy can't hit it. The dog's. I mean, it just didn't make sense. But I was fine. I wasn't even asking questions. I was just saying, I love this. This is great. Go, go. He drops grenades. He can't blow the thing up. I mean, it's absurd, but I love it. That music, we're gonna get that. Doo, 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 doo.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good, man. It's just amazing. We get the chess wizard. I mean, just endless great stuff.
What does
Tony,
he call her? A cheating bitch?
Yeah. Tony, why does Doc Cooper have a nose earring? At first I'm like, there's no way that's a nose earring.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, that's a fucking nose earring.
I mean, that's one of my biggest. Well, I shouldn't say one of my biggest. I have a lot of them, but it's one of the things I really love about this movie is you have no background to any of these characters. They are the biggest bunch of fucking weird. It's a weird group. You got
Super weird.
Gary, who's brandishing the sidearm. He's the like the sheriff. You know, you got the stoner. You get the stoner. You got the roller skating cook. You know, you have the hot headed bald guy. You got the cool. The only one we know about is because Kurt Russell's come out and said he read the script and he's like, all right, I gotta give him a backstory. He's like, what McCready was is McCready was in Vietnam, and he was a helicopter pilot, and he had some failed missions. He lost soldiers. He's never forgiven himself for it. He's got the PTSD. He's got the alcoholism. He has insomnia. So that's why when he's like, I'm a really light sleeper, all that comes from Nam. Like that all makes sense. Like that's great.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, what's the stoner doing there? Like, it's a research team. What are they researching? Whose
What are they
job is it to
researching?
do what? It's like, I don't understand any of the. Why would it? It's like, all right, you got a nose ring, you're a doctor, cool, you're a pirate, do what you want to do. But it's like, how did you get this government job with a nose ring to go up and do this? Like, or is this like, I'm going to send you to Siberia because you're a fuck up. So this is like the low man in the totem pole kind of job that they all got.
I think
I mean, Palmer's wearing like gang colors and everything. So, like.
They got the rec room with the arcade games, and they just basically hang out and play fucking cards and video games, asteroids. I'm like, what is going on here? I didn't even care.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
I just accepted it.
They never said what they were actually doing.
But yet they had all the medical supplies they need. They had all the research facilities they had. They pretty much had a fucking morgue there. It's like everything that you need to do something insane was there, but I didn't question it. So yeah.
Yeah, me neither. The pacing too on the movie, like it went so fast.
It
was so good. It moved so fast, and it's just so engaging and so entertaining.
Because you brought up the chess wizard, it's like that is the only female in the movie, and you know who that is, right?
No.
Really? That's like one of the biggest trivia pieces about it. The director is John Carpenter. His wife's Adrienne Barbeau. That's Adrienne Barbeau's cameo in the thing.
I love that.
How cool.
So that's awesome. That's one of the. I thought everybody knew that. All right, cool.
Yeah, it takes us back to Creepshow.
I'll tell you who I didn't like. I don't like the actor that played the guy with the handgun on his side. I just don't like him as an actor, really. I mean, he was fine in this movie. He never works for me. I mean, I think I liked him in A House Guest with Steve Martin, but he was like an old school teacher.
See, the one that didn't work for me was what's it with the dogs? The guy from It.
Oh, I loved him.
Oh, Richard Messer.
Yeah, he's like, fine here. I'm gonna just deliver my lines like this. It's like, and then you're dead. Just all right, you're the worst actor of the bunch. Get out of here.
But he sold the sad to me. Like I really felt his pain as the dogs were being injured. Like I felt bad for him. And
I think all you have to do is look sad in front of a dead dog, and you're gonna portray that you're sad about a dog. I mean,
maybe it was those dude's eyebrows that fucked me. I don't know. The eyebrows are fucked up.
They are kind of just,
Oh, they're like a thing. That's the first thing in the movie.
Touching back on the spaceship, I agree. It's the worst. It's the worst special effect in the whole movie. But
it didn't need to be there.
I agree it didn't need to be there. But you got to put yourself back in 1982. Now we look for anything. We expect everything. We're looking for where the movie is going to go. 82. I don't think anyone would think this is an alien. Is this a virus? Is this something like some germ they dug out? You wouldn't automatically go alien. So they put it in there to let you know it's an alien movie, but you literally forgot about that until they got to the Swedish camp. You really didn't think alien anywhere in the first 40 minutes of the movie.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't. But I mean, I knew, but
the wreckage of the ship was so ahead of its time, though. It looked so good.
Matte painting. It was such a great. They did such a great job with the matte paintings.
It was so good, and the little ship was so bad. But again, I loved it. It started the whole thing off like a Saturday morning cartoon. I was instantly like, cool. Mickey, what did you think of the opening scene?
I loved it. And that like you said, like the music and the dun dun, and there was another scene, and I think it's towards the end, but they're like running through like the hallways of the kitchen and stuff, but like it's like classic John Carpenter, like dun dun, like the piano, like the dun. You know what I mean? Like you always know it's a John Carpenter movie just by like that music.
But it's not John Carpenter.
No, but you know what I'm saying? But like
That's the weird thing. Yeah.
his movies have like that, you know what I mean? But again, I thought it was like everyone comes out at once. So there's no surprises on who the cast is. Everyone's there. You know who everybody is. And they're all trying to figure out what's up with this crazy guy with the shotgun trying to shoot the dog. And I just, again, I feel like for me, it's the isolation. Again, it's like just, even though there's a bunch of them together, there's nothing like that. That for me was the second scariest thing about the whole movie, was that they're just in the middle of fucking nowhere. You know what I mean? And like, there's nothing. There's nothing.
What's scary is that's like my dream come true. I would fucking love to be in that camp, like with no other fucking freaky humans around. Yeah.
I'd like it if it wasn't so cold.
Delenn, what'd you think of that opening scene?
I already did mine.
You okay.
Yeah. And I love the fact that McCready's up on a tower. He doesn't even want to be in the building with anybody. He's got his own little shack up there doing his own thing. It's like, oh, it's just And to go back to
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the death, the Norwegian, the way he died with the jerk of the body. Yeah. Very cool. I loved it. Very cool.
The death twitch. With the soundtrack, it was actually Morricone who did The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And the funny thing is that he won a Razzie Award for the soundtrack that year. But
for this?
For this. And Quentin Tarantino took samples of this soundtrack, used it for The Hateful Eight, which Morricone also did, and won an Oscar for it.
Oh wow!
So it's like
no kidding.
It just shows like where you put a sound. You know,
interesting.
Yeah,
this was some of my This was some of my favorite scary music in a horror movie. Just it was so simple, but boom, boom, boom. Yeah. It was so dark and deep and just yeah, really good. All right, let's go.
All right. So, puzzled about why the Norwegian was trying to kill the dog, McCready, played by Kurt Russell and his glorious mane of hair, the team's helicopter pilot, and their Dr. Cooper, played by Richard Dysart, go to investigate the Norwegian base. The whole base has been gutted by fire and explosions, as there are holes in several of the walls in the interior of the complex. There is also a fire axe stuck into one of the walls. Everyone is dead. One of them has barricaded himself into the radio room and is still sitting frozen in his chair, his wrists and throat slit in an apparent suicide, which I thought was a really cool visual with like the frozen blood, and just, it was cool. Mac and Cooper explore further, finding a large and empty block of ice. Outside in the snow, along with one or two burned human bodies, Mac and Cooper find the burned and frozen corpse of a twisted creature, not man, but not beast either. They bring it back to their own base for examination. An autopsy performed by biologist Blair, played by Wilford Brimley, without his mustache, so it was very weird. Good. Reveals nothing more than a normal set of internal organs, despite the deformed and distorted exterior. So, Des, this is our first look at Rob Bottin's outstanding practical effects, and super effective. That like side by side face is just super cool.
Yeah. So they did keep these sound stages really cold to keep these guys in character, like really cold, from what I understand. And some of this was actually shot in Alaska, correct?
I think British Columbia, Alaska.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the frozen corpses, again, like you said, they looked absolutely amazing. The burnt remains were creepy, and I love that they find this video recorder. So this great storytelling for back then, because immediately I can't wait to see what's on this video recorder. They're going to give us the information dump with it. And this is like ahead of its time. Like
it's almost like the first found footage.
Yeah, like the first found footage. Exactly. And it really is ahead of its time. And it keeps the movie moving. It keeps me engaged. It keeps it interesting. I just loved it. I wasn't sure that bringing the twisted remains back to camp was a great idea. Like something's happened here and maybe we shouldn't be, but they did. And I was glad they did. And at this moment, I realized that I was in for a mix of sci-fi and horror, and it was being delivered spectacularly. So yeah, I'm just it's picking up speed with me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a master at work here. You know, he's setting you up for the scare. He's setting you up for the sci-fi. He's you know, he's starting. The paranoia hasn't even started yet because, you know, at this point they just think something happened there. They don't realize it's about to start happening here.
Yeah.
But you already kind of are getting like, you know, the feeling that like people are already kind of like looking at each other like, what the F, you know, and it's starting that feeling happening. And
And the
it's
thing
just
is,
gonna roll
it's
downhill.
and it's not even like there's so many horror movies or whatever, or wannabe horror movies or whatever, that by this point, I feel like there's been a lot more action, but it's still not as frightening as the nothing that's happening in this, and it's terrifying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they've set
Every
up.
moment that they're walking through that Norwegian camp, that abandoned camp, I'm waiting for something to jump out because
Mhm.
we're so trained for the jump scare at this point,
Right.
right? So I'm waiting for something to jump out, and I'm like,
And-
"Ah," and nothing ever does.
And every time we get a look at these dead monsters that have like morphed and started to combine into two things, like it's obvious that they're models and they're like sculptures, but they're so fucking good, man. It's like I'm just looking at it going, this is masterpiece. These are masterpieces, even though they look stiff and they do look like props. They look fucking amazing. I want one in my house.
See, but
Right?
No,
watching,
thank you.
you know, watching Brimley like snap the spider legs off. It's like, and then
Ugh.
slicing the flesh and pushing it back. I never
And-
got a model feel out of it. And he
Yeah.
reached in and there's this, and he's pulling out viscera, and it's like, yeah, we logically know what it is, but it's so good. And leading up to this whole, I mean, before we even leave for the no, I was gonna say the Swedes, the Norwegian.
yeah.
Before we leave
Well,
for
no.
that camp, we're following the dog walking through these long, empty, darkened, dim hallways, which is where these people live. Like we've been introduced to a good chunk of this camp to give us the isolation, to give us the loneliness, to give us the downtrodden feel that these people are going through. The fact that they're watching videotapes of game shows, like, oh, I know how this one ends. It's like they're
Yeah.
showing you the monotony that they're just losing their minds with, you know, and it's small. It's the subtleness of the dog walks up to a doorway and we see a person's shadow, but we don't know who it is, and that goes to black.
Right.
Yes.
It's like simplest scene, but man, you just gave us a huge chunk of like stress to deal with.
Yes.
So
They
man,
did
Yes.
such a great job of making you feel like the dog was intelligent too. Like it was more than just a dog. Like the thing was actually like you know, casing the
yeah,
establishment. You
and
know?
that
Yeah, yeah.
and that's what you have to like. I always try to go back and watch every time I watch it because I watch it more than I should. Is like who gets infected first and why? And obviously it's the guy who gets shot because dog jumps on him first and licks him in the mouth. He just
Right.
transferred it. So
Yeah.
that's the patient zero right there. It's like it was him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When I say models, Tony, I didn't mean it like when Brimley is going in and everything's wet and he's doing the autopsy. That all look great. I'm just talking when they give you a close up of like the face, and
Yeah,
it's
I know.
very like, but it doesn't look cheap. Is what
No.
I'm saying. Is it looks like as good as it could get. It's just it's impressive.
And
It's
just the
art.
reveal, it's like this, and then the smoke comes up with it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
such a beautiful, like so well done. Oh, so good.
Yeah, it's art. It's art. It doesn't look like the Tasmanian devil we got in Creepshow, is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It looks real.
So I mean
Yeah.
that one split face guy, he's the one that Botine was the most proud of because that he's like, all right, that we could show in play daylight.
so
He was scared of the
good.
dog. He was scared of the Brimley creature, and he was
Yeah.
worried about the spider head. So he kept them in
What, the
darkness.
spider head?
He
What?
kept them silhouetted. He kept them in darkness. You saw, and there were quick shots. There were close ups. It's very rare you saw a full creature that was lit up. And that
Dude, if that
again,
spider head walked across my room right now, I'd be standing on my couch screaming like a fucking Mary.
so good. So good.
No, but he definitely did that because I saw that in the special edition thing too. It was saying that he was constantly fighting them to turn the lights down, and they
Yeah.
were like, he's making these beautiful things and then he wants you to turn the lights off.
It's like hide the defects and accentuate the positives, you know.
There was nothing to hide in this movie, in my opinion. Nothing. I wanted to see it all. So go ahead, take us forth.
Okay. That night, the new stray husky is locked in a kennel with the team sled dogs. The other dogs soon react with fear to the new addition, growling and snarling. The new dog suddenly transforms into a hideous creature with tentacles and crab legs and starts attacking the other dogs. The incident is discovered by the dog handler, Clark, played by Richard Mazur, who watches horrified. Mac hears the sound of the thing's otherworldly groans and cries of the dogs, and he immediately responds by sounding the fire alarm. This wakes up the entire camp, who converge on the kennel, where they see the hideous dog-like creature seemingly consuming the other sled dogs. Part of the creature separates from the rest and pulls itself up through the ceiling. After shooting at the beast with their guns, the thing is burned with the flamethrower. So, Tony, I actually have a very hard time with violence against animals in movies, especially cats and dogs. And I'll admit that this scene was one that I kind of did not watch head on. I watched it kind of to the side. Because it was like, even though it's like obvious that it's special effects, it was hard to watch.
Yeah,
it was a really hard scene to watch.
Yeah.
There's two. Everything about this movie is awesome, but that fucking fire alarm. That's like it's like the purge horn. It's like the fog horn and the
boop,
fog.
boop.
It's like that. As soon as you hear that, you're like, that's the thing, fucking fire alarm. I know that. It's like that and the initial scream from the crab hand guy. Those are the two sounds in this movie that are just like fucking perfect. There's nothing you can say about the scene that any kind of negativity. I mean, the dog slowly walks in and just sits there. It's creepy as shit. And they actually got the dog to do that. Like the dog actually didn't want to look at the camera. Like there's a note somewhere I read somewhere the dog literally it was the perfect actor dog.
It was.
Just lays down and then just splits like a flower. And honestly, you don't see it coming. You nowhere in any of history before that moment you go, oh, I wonder what's going to, holy fuck, what happened here? It's like it just comes out of nowhere. There's no warning, there's no growl, there's no creak. It's just boom, I'm split open and there's a skeletal head looking at me. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that dog was actually half wolf, half husky. And they said that the wolf side of him was more present than the husky side. And there would be times where he would get this look in his eye. And Richard Mazur was like, okay, we're going to take a break because the dog is looking at me with the wolf eye. You know, like I was like, I was like, but yeah, I think that lens, that wolf side of him kind of lends that almost eerie thing that you get from that dog.
Just staring at the wall like,
Yeah. Mickey, what'd you think of the dog scene? I know you've got to have thoughts.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard to watch. It was really, as a horror fan, it was really fucking cool. As a dog lover, it was really hard to watch. Although I didn't put it together at the time, but I felt like this paved the way for Alien 3 when the alien was in the Rottweiler, and then it like came out of the Rottweiler.
Interesting.
Couldn't think of that.
Yeah, definitely a tip of the hat there for sure.
But this was hard, and and then it kind of ends up taking all the dogs with it, basically, and that was hard too. And I could totally relate to like the dog handler going, no, when he's like, don't shoot my dog, and he's like, it's not your dog anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it was a hard scene to watch, but the effects were so good, and it was just like, 1 minute the dog's the dog, and the next minute it's like poof, and you're like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Did that just really fucking happen? Like,
and those tentacles whipping around, they're like, whip, whip, whip. I was like, that's crazy.
Was like, out of all the things with the thing, like the whippy shit was the freakiest stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The reaction they got from the other dogs really took the anxiety level and the feeling of fear to a place where a human actor I don't think could have gone, because you almost feel like maybe that dog was really scared, when the other dogs were like trying to basically get away, the ones biting through the cage. And and that can happen to one of our dogs, bit through a metal cage. And yeah, it was crazy. It was so creepy when the dog busted open. I almost wasn't ready for it. Again, going back to my turkey sloppy wet casserole, just wasn't happening. So this happens. Dogs all get turned into aliens, whatever. At this point, I think you would be thinking about like torching everything. Like it's time to torch everything. Like grab the twisted thing, bring it into the observation room, and we'll have Brimley start digging around in it. What? No, this is a bad idea. But I never questioned it like I usually start, ripping movies apart. I was like, fuck it.
Well,
Let's fucking do an autopsy.
it's a research facility. They're researchers. They're information gatherers. So it kind of goes along with their character. So again,
Yeah,
you're
if there's
right.
obviously an alien
I
on the
never
loose.
questioned. But I mean, his delivery is like, that's not dog. It's like that's not dog. Oh no shit.
Yeah, but I mean, so you've been to the other outpost. You see there's like weird twisted things. Now you've seen the thing get into your dog and turn into another twisted thing. It's like, all right, it's time to break out the fucking flamethrower and like just start melting things. But nope, Brinley's gonna get in there and start licking his fingers. It fucking made no sense, man.
Didn't one of them say like, "What the fuck are we doing?" And the guy said, "This is like somebody's going to win the Nobel Prize or something
Nobel
like
Peace
that."
Prize, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would have been
sure
the other guy like,
initially-
"What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, I'm sure initially they were like, "Oh, we'll do a little research on it so that when, they come up for us in the spring, we can be like, look at this thing we found." And yeah, no. Sorry, dude.
Too much evidence from the other camp. I mean, you've got to see where this is going to end.
Well, at the same time, though, if they're, Gary's old to be Korean War vet, McCready's Vietnam vet, they've seen shit. They know that cabin fever is a thing. They know that PTSD drives people to do terrible things.
Right.
Yeah, this is a big thing to react to. But at that point, up until that point, I don't think they were really thinking that there's a big problem. It's just people lost their minds.
Right.
There were the humans burned. There was this weird thing. Aside from the weird thing, it literally could have been cabin fever because one guy's with a razor blade frozen to his hand cut himself open. Other humans are there. One of them tried to shoot the dog and somebody on the camp. It all kind of goes together at that point. So
Yeah.
until
true.
you get exploding flower head, it's like, all right, yeah, we have an issue.
Well, then, and you already too. You already had McCready like so bored that he's sitting there getting shit faced playing chess, like,
Yeah,
and he does that all the time.
Right. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
All right. I'm sorry, honey. Did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, take us to the crash site.
All right. An autopsy done by Blair on the thing's remains reveals its secret. The thing is actually an alien organism that imitates other life forms by attacking and either digesting or dissolving them and reshaping its image to appear as the animal or person that it kills. The team also watches a videotape of the Norwegian team working at a remote location, forming a circle around an object in the ice and using thermite charges to uncover it. The following day, McCready flies with Palmer and Norris to the site where the Norwegians were working. They find an alien spaceship in the open crater and rappel down to take a look. I'd say that's a bad idea, but do what you got to do, guys. Yeah. Mac asks Norris how long the ship has been entombed. Norris estimates that it's been there for at least 100,000 years. I'm not quite sure how he figured that out just by looking, but okay, I'll believe it. Up above the crash site, they find a block of ice cap missing where the thing was discovered and removed by the Norwegians. Back at Outpost 31, Mac theorizes that the Norwegians awakened the creature after thawing it in the ice block, and it immediately begins to attack them. So, Mickey, I found that the scene at the crater was really interesting because though it is, it's one of those cases where they use the painting for the scenery. And I found out that the painting was done by a guy who did a lot of Alfred Hitchcock movies. He did The Birds, he did Marnie, and he just knew exactly what he was doing to make it look really real.
It was pretty cool. And I even was getting anxiety watching them just rappel down into the thing because I'm like, there's nobody else there. Like, if you guys, something happens, like, that's it. Like, there's no one else there. Like, seriously, I get such anxiety watching this movie. But, like, and they left the one guy at the top, and I'm like, no, you got to leave. You need more than one person up there because, you know what I mean? I'm just like thinking of all these things, like even just them rappelling into the pit, like, you know, ugh.
That's always my thoughts in these movies. It's like, oh, we're just gonna rappel down. It's like I've done obstacle course races before. One of the obstacles
Mhm.
is always climbing a rope. I was in shape for a while. That's still one of the hardest things in the world for me to do. And if I'm not
Mhm.
carrying like Kevlar and tools with me, and they're climbing up a frozen snow covered traverse, and it's like I don't know.
Yeah.
Those kind of things always bug me. So I can see what you're saying completely. It's like how'd they get back up there? Come on.
Yeah.
At
Um,
least give me a rope ladder so I can believe you.
Yeah.
so had Doc discovered that someone is infected yet on the computer
Not
and
yet.
done? Okay. Yeah. So same with you guys. You know, I really love the black and white video they show us of the crash disc. You know, immediately I'm super interested. And you know, when they get to the crash site again, even more so, it's awesome sci-fi. It's everything that I love. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Just well done. It's great sci-fi.
Yeah, I really like the scene when they're doing the video and they're all standing in that circle around it. It gives you almost like, you know, that moment of like, you know, like they're worshiping it or looking like it's creepy because they're
Yeah,
all equidistant from each other, and it's like it's almost like I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but like ritualistic. It's very
yeah,
kind of
Mhm.
strange. So it
yeah.
gives you that moment of like, oh, that's kind of odd. You know, like it's not just a bunch of dudes just walking around. They're all standing in an exact circle around the thing. I'm like, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Right.
Trying to get the measurement. Get the circumference of everything.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
yeah.
I
I mean
suppose.
the footage is just awesome. You're right.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
just so
it's
good.
cool. And like Mickey said, found footage essentially, which is kind of cool.
yeah.
And
I
I
It's
never
love
put
that
that together.
they did it like I keep going back to this, like Antarctica, the middle of fucking nowhere. Like if they did it, like they could have made the thing in like a research lab in Boston and it wouldn't have been half as scary. You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah.
It
No.
just the isolation, the cold, the fact that you're up there, there's no one coming for you for how many months? Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's just nothing that makes it to me 10 times scarier than
Well, it also is going to make me ask some questions, which is coming up in the next scene. So I've got a hot take for Tony on this next one. So let's move on.
All right. Let's see here. Moving on. That evening, Blair studies cells from the thing and watches them attack and replicate other kinds of cells on his computer. Typing his report into the computer replies that the possibility that one or more team members may be infected by the alien organism is 75%, and that if the alien reaches civilization, the entire population of the Earth will be infected by the alien organism 27,000 hours later, which is around 37 months, just over 3 years after your first contact. Okay, so did you want to talk about that, honey?
Yes. Okay. So here's my hot take. So when I first watched it, I thought so. Blair discovers more than likely someone is infected, and then he starts doing the numbers on uh, how long it would take for the entire world to be infected if it reached civilization. Um, so if this is me, I'd kill everyone. I'd burn the camp to the ground, and then I'd kill myself because you have to. I mean, you have to. That's what you have to do. You have now figured out that there is an alien here. It's going to reach civilization and it's going to take over the world, basically. And it's your duty now to stop this immediately. So, um, at first, I'm saying, okay, he's smashing all the gear. He's losing his mind. Why is he doing this? So, here's my hot take. He didn't kill himself. He didn't kill anybody else. He destroyed everything that linked them to the outside world. So is he infected now? Just hear me out. Is he infected? He now, what he wants to do is make it so everybody's trapped. They can't get word out. He knows everyone is going to get infected eventually. And then rescuers are going to come and rescue them and take them back to civilization where the alien will take over the entire planet. Is that what's happening here?
Yep.
So that's not a hot take?
No.
Okay.
Well, see,
Like he's the one
see,
said he just wants to go to sleep. He just wants to go back to sleep. It knows there's no way out.
No.
At that point, because eventually he was working on it and Fuchs was working on it. So
Yeah.
he knew that eventually, if it wasn't him, someone else was going to find out what it is. So you know what? I'm going to preemptively do this. He breaks up the computers, fucks up the snowcat, does the chopper, does everything. So yeah, he's already cut off everything.
Yeah. So he's an alien already. He's already infected.
He had his hands. He only had gloves up to here. He was
Mhm.
up
Yeah.
to here in it.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, he was done.
Okay.
I definitely wrote this somewhere in my notes, but it's like, knowing what we know about infectious diseases today, I'm watching this movie going, oh my
Yeah, they-
God.
They all should have been wearing a mask. Had some hand
I mean, at the very
sanitizer.
least,
Goggles.
like a face shield, like a hazmat suit. Like, oh my God! Like, I'm like, oh my God! I was like, this guy literally is, like Tony said, gloves up to the very bottom of his wrist, and
They're
just I'm like,
that's all he had.
So Mickey
and
and
like
Delin,
and like eating fried chicken with his gloved hand. Like,
did
oh
you
God.
guys see that scene the way I saw it, Mickey? That he was
Yes.
already infected and
Yes.
trying to. Okay. All right. Good.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was being
Or
clever.
even if he doesn't realize he's infected and he's just doing it because he knows that if this thing gets out, it's going to kill everybody.
Well, no.
It could be one or the other. It really could play either way.
Yeah, I guess.
You
All
know?
right, and let's not skip over the burning of Gary. It's so good.
Oh,
It's so
Jesus
good.
Christ.
That look he gives when he's like, oh, and he's like got some of the creature coming out of him, and oh man, that's so scary. He makes that face, that kind of invasion of the body snatchers face.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good.
That's that sound, man. It's so good.
It's so good. It's the sound that the guy makes in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where she comes up to him, she goes, "Is it you?" And he goes, "Oh!" I was like, "Oh yeah, there it is." Do you guys, Tony? Do you think that this alien idea is borrowed from Invasion of the Body Snatchers loosely?
I don't remember which one came first. I want to say the thing. This thing is based on the Thing from Another World. Thing from Another World is based on Who Goes There, which is an earlier novel. I don't know which one came first, but obviously
Yeah,
they're both about paranoia, and some could have said the Red Scare and the communism, and who can you trust? Can't trust your neighbor back in the day, and
Right.
it's all goes back to everything goes back to political.
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing Invasion of the Body Snatchers when I was too young to see it, and very scary movie. You don't know who is infected and who isn't.
But the original or the Donald Sutherland one? 'Cause the Donald Sutherland fucked me up. That fucked me up when I was a kid.
That was crazy.
Yeah, Donald with Jeff Goldblum, and really good, really psychological, excellent
that might
scare
have to
on
be.
that
I might have to pull that one out for us. That would be a fun one.
Yeah, it's fucking excellent. It's excellent. So, yeah.
All right, moving on. The team decides to place the creature's remains in a storage room. The assistant biologist Fuchs, played by Joel Polis, asks to privately speak to Mac. He tells Mac that he's been looking through Blair's notes and found that Blair believes the organism cells are still alive and active in the burned remains of both creatures. Blair has also theorized that the alien might have imitated 1,000 other life forms across space. While Windows, played by Thomas G. Waits, and Bennings prepare the room to store the remains recovered from the Norwegian base, it begins to move under the blanket it's been covered with. Windows returns to the room to find Bennings being attacked, wrapped in tentacles. Yuck. Windows gets the other team members, but Bennings has escaped through the storage room window. They find him in the snow, his transformation by the alien nearly complete except for his hands, which are hideously large and grotesque shapes. Mac and the team incinerate him alive and then burn the remains of the other two creatures along with him. So, Tony, like I was just saying, these days, with the knowledge we have of infectious diseases, I'm laughing at them carrying the remains around in like a blanket and just chucking it in the storage room. It's like, maybe a plastic bag, something.
Yeah, some sort of protection here would be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I always loved, and again, it goes along with his character, how quick McCready is to just, "Nope, I'm gonna burn him. Fuck this." It's like he wants to give people a chance, but he's the first one to go, "Nope, fuck it, kill it." Oh, you took a step towards me, shoot you in the head. It's like he's got that ex-soldier mentality. It's just he's so. It's hard to gauge with Kurt Russell because he's got such a soft face. He's got like a likable face, but when he put that, and I think that's partially why he grew the beard as well, is because he needed to be a harder character for this movie. I mean, I never read anything about that, but he's literally only got this much showing of his entire head. Between the long hair and the beard, it's he's. I love the character McCready, and just I would love to just sit here and do a thesis on McCready's
McCready.
past and where it went afterwards. But we'll get to that when we get to the end of the movie.
Yeah, there's a bunch of interesting stuff like the burnt underwear that are found.
Yeah.
Or the burnt. Well, one, he finds the burnt underwear, and then the burnt McCready uniform part. So
Right.
that was planted. That's planted, right? Like
Yeah,
somebody.
always
we're
thought
going to
that
get
it
into
was,
that
yeah.
more, but yes.
But I mean,
Yeah.
that's the ultimate question for either now, or later, or whenever. Is that all right? The thing took me over. You would never know. What's the problem? I still have my own thoughts. It seems like anyone who was infected still had their own thoughts. They were just an alien. So
Right.
what's the problem? It's kind of just like herpes at that point.
Yeah.
I get this condition, but I'm different. Don't touch my fluids. But hey, it's still me.
Right.
Oh my goodness. I think eventually you probably, I don't know. Do you think it's kind of like one of those things, like eventually it becomes like a big mass, like all the people in the world would just become one big mass, or I don't know.
It's weird.
It's creepy.
Well, that's the
It's
thing. We
creepy.
have there's never been a follow up of anything like that. Like, all right, you got infected. Now what?
Yeah.
You could split off, and granted, you get cut. Part of you is going to run away to try to save itself, but I'm jumping ahead.
It's okay.
Well, when McCready reveals his plan to the group, I think at that point, for the sake of all mankind, again, he has to torch everybody. He
Well,
knows at least part of the group is fucking infected aliens.
Well, he said that I know he says it at some point. I don't remember if it was that. If I know at least some of you are human, otherwise you would all just jump me.
Right.
And
Right.
everyone has their own thing. I mean, his was when he goes back up, he leaves the audio tape. It's like, I'm going to hide this when I'm done, so someone knows what happened. No one's left a record yet. They all have these reports, but no one's called in. No one's been able to write anything down. No one's videotaped anything. So I think that's kind of where everybody is kind of trying to figure out, all right, what do we do? And towards the end of the movie, they say, fuck it, let's just burn the place, and like they get there. But at this point, I think it's still like the reality of it is still so overwhelming that they're not thinking to that point yet.
Right.
I mean, this would be a lot to take on. If you have to think about it, like if you were in this situation, you probably have a denial. I'm sure some of them were in denial for quite some time.
Yeah, at this point, I had asked myself too if Futches had faked his death.
Funyuns.
What's this? Funyuns. Fiddlesticks. If Fiddlesticks had faked his death.
We're not quite there yet, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole movie, I'm just asking questions, and it's keeping me thinking, and I'm doing that thing where I'm trying to figure out what the twist is, and
yes,
and I just love movies like this. Yeah, just so interesting.
Absolutely.
All right, let's keep rolling, Funches.
All right, Funyuns. Realizing that something like this could take over the world if it got out, Blair seemingly loses his mind, killing the surviving sled dogs, another thing I couldn't look at, and destroying the helicopter and communications equipment, including injuring Windows in the process. He traps the crew without any hope of rescue. The others, seeing him as a threat now, subdue him and then lock him in the camp's tool shed and sedate him. Make it, quite frankly, whether he is infected or not at this point, who knows, but he's a sitting duck. So he's on his way if he hasn't already been infected. So the next morning, fear and paranoia circulates around the camp as nobody knows who may be the thing and who isn't. Doc Cooper suggests that he develop a blood serum test to see who might be infected. Cooper finds that the blood bags in the lab have all been slashed open, making their contents useless. Cooper believes that somebody deliberately destroyed the blood to prevent the testing. Gary and Cooper become suspects because of their access to the blood storage, while Clark is regarded with suspicion because of his proximity to the dog. All three are quarantined by McCready, who takes over as the de facto leader of the team to find out who may be the thing. When a whiteout storm hits the camp and the outside temperature drops severely, they are forced to hunker down, all of them continuing to be paranoid and distrustful of one another. Mac talks to Fuchs, who only has a few weak theories from Blair's notes. And Fuchs recommends that everyone prepares their own meals and only eats out of cans. So, Des, while this movie is considered a horror movie and a sci-fi movie with fantastic creature effects, I really have to say there's so much to be said about the sense of paranoia that Carpenter builds in the quieter moments in between these great creature effects, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, did we see fucking the head crawl across the floor yet?
Not
No.
yet.
Oh God. Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. It's just great storytelling. It's great storytelling, it's great sci-fi, it's great horror, which is why I wanted to do it. It's just clever as fuck.
It
I'm
really is.
dying
But
to talk about I'm
you're
dying
dying to
talk
talk
about the
about the
head.
crab, the spider head. We're getting there. We're getting
It's like
there.
Long John Silver.
But yeah, I feel like he really like threads together these scenes so that you're not bored when there's not a creature happening. Like
Never bored.
like people talking is not boring. And there's movies that I've seen where the talking gets boring real fast. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure I'd get crucified for saying this, but there are sometimes Quentin Tarantino, he has his characters talk and they talk and they talk, and I want to shoot myself in the head because I'm like, can you please just move along?
Well, this is a mystery. It's a good mystery, too.
Yeah, it's a fantastic mystery. He does a really good job and he keeps it moving, even though there are times, quiet times in between. And
And again, I
appreciate
feel
that.
like this is another one of those things where if they had set this in any other place or time, it wouldn't have worked. But again, because of the isolation, because of where they are, it just makes it that much worse. And I know how I would feel if I was one of them and I was stuck in this place with all this shit going down. I would be a fucking basket case.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the actors were stage actors except for Kurt Russell. And that's what I had read. And it works because, you've just got these characters and basically in small rooms talking to each other, and they're doing a great job.
And the characters are so different. I mean, again, going back to our amazingly performed Disaster Piece Theater, that scene, like, why don't you want to go with windows? What problem does he have with windows? Before it's just small things like that make you go, did I miss something? Like, they obviously have a problem with each other. Like, so it's like the diversity in the casting and the characters, and obviously the cook is more than just the cook, and Windows is just not just the radio guy, he does more. It's like everybody's got a past, and you see little splinters of it in these small scenes that they never really go anywhere with, but it's enough to make you go, all right, he doesn't trust him, who doesn't trust him, who doesn't trust him. So it's
the way they interact with each other definitely hints to the last year or so they've been up there and what's been happening.
Who's getting on my nerves.
Yep.
Fuchs is trying to do research on how the thing can multiply, and he gets sidetracked when an unknown infected person disables the power to the lab. Fuchs goes after it and is killed off camera. His burned body is found outside in the snow a few hours later by Mac, Knowles, and Windows. They're not sure if the thing burned him or if Fuchs burned himself to keep from being infected, but he's dead. Mac tells Windows to return to the main building to update everyone on what they know, while he goes with Knowles to the shack to investigate. The lights are on inside it, and when he left 2 days ago, he turned them off. So I feel like it's possible that Fuchs actually isn't dead and he might be running around doing stuff. He could be infected, but you never really know because you don't see. And I also felt like the shack scene was a bit of a red herring. It was a way to get Knowles and Mac into another place and away from the building, because they don't really talk to, like, there's no scene in the shack,
And they're gone for 45 minutes too. They say they've been gone so long. Like, why are they gone for 45 minutes? Like, what logic was it to keep them away? Obviously for story time, but I mean, I was like, oh, all right, no one's here. Did checked everything. All right, we should leave, so no one thinks we're doing anything terrible. And I forgot to comment earlier on the second worst line delivery is someone got to the blood. It's like that fucking line. It's just like, oh, someone got to the blood.
Oh, get to the blood.
It's
like, there was still plenty of blood. There was still plenty of blood there.
It was just all mixed together, though.
True.
So there's no way to know what.
Someone got to it.
Someone got to the blood.
Somebody got to the blood.
Oh no!
He's back. Sorry.
Well, it was Dracula from Sesame Street, just so everybody knows.
The Count.
Okay, sure.
It was the Count.
Sure. Yeah, but I mean, I think it's also interesting that it's possible that Fuchs actually is alive. He burns the body of the Norwegian, and he just throws his glasses there, and he's actually like, it's possible. Like,
Sure.
I read a whole thing on Reddit that Fuchs is alive and he's the one behind the scenes making all this shit happen.
I have never
He's the
thought
one.
of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, Fuchs. Yeah, Fuchs is. They also think that Fuchs is the one that unlocks the shed that Blair is in.
I was going to
because the
get to
doors
that. That bugged the shit out of me.
Yeah.
We'll get to that when we get to it. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
the one
'cause- well,
part
they were
of
like, how did
logic.
Yeah, they're like, how did the door get unlocked? And they're like, well, if Fuchs is alive and running around in the background.
Oh, you
You
just
know?
introduced a whole new aspect.
Well,
I got to watch it again.
and the
Sorry.
fact, yeah, and the fact that, we were asking, did the alien plant the evidence against McReady? McReady. Hey, McReady.
Matt,
McReady.
Kurt Russell.
Yeah,
Just call him
Hey.
Mac, honey.
Kurt. So yeah, perhaps these aliens are good at planting evidence and opening doors.
Oh, I mean, they absolutely planted his ripped up shirt so that people would think that he was one of them, because
Yeah.
they saw Mac. The thing saw Mac as a threat,
Right.
and rightfully so.
Right.
Yeah. This is why this movie moves along so quickly, because you're just sitting there asking you a million questions.
Yep. All right. So sometime later, Knowles returns to the camp in distress from being out in the cold. He tells the others he found ragged and dirty clothing with Mac's name on it in the oil furnace inside Mac's shack. Mac's shack. It sounds fun.
Sounds like a barbecue hut or something.
As they were struggling back to the main compound, Knowles cut Mac's safety line and made a break for it, believing that Mac is infected. Mac is locked outside and he breaks the window in a storeroom to enter. He arms himself with a small bundle of dynamite and threatens to blow himself and the rest of them up if they don't back away, which, okay, dude. When Childs
See how
played
short
by...
that wick was?
I know, dude. So when Childs, played by Keith David, and the others rebel against Mac, Norris collapses, and when he appears to have a heart attack, Dr. Cooper tries to revive him using defibrillator paddles. Norris's chest suddenly opens up to a monstrous mouth and bites off Cooper's arms.
So good.
Mac uses it's so good.
Oh,
Mac
such a
uses a
great scene.
flamethrower to destroy the Norris thing, leaving only its head, which detaches, sprouts spider legs, and tries to crawl away before it's destroyed as well. So this scene is the most talked about and remembered scene in the entire movie. If you've seen this movie, you know this scene because you can never forget it. And I'm sure you guys have tons of observations. Can we talk about they used a prosthetic of Dr. Cooper's face on a man who was an amputee. He was a double amputee. And they used gelatin arms. And that's not actually the actor that played Dr. Cooper at that time.
Yeah.
Amazing. Mickey, what'd you think of the scene?
That it's funny because when I was laying there watching it today, and I'm like, I remembered right before it happened, and I was like, oh yeah. And then just when he does like chink, and I was like, oh, here it comes. That scene is so that like this scene has to go down in one of the all-time greatest fucked up scenes in horror history. Like
Ever.
It's
just
so good.
just
Yeah.
pushing right through his chest, and then the chest just going boop.
Yeah.
Love it.
12,
Love it.
12-year-old me in the cinema going, oh, I wonder if he's going to die. I wonder if the alien will, oh, Jesus Christ. Who saw that coming? No one ever.
Nobody.
Well, let me think, what could possibly happen here? Well, his chest could open up and the ribs turn into teeth and bite the guy's arms. I'm like, what are you, fucking high? There's no way to do that.
Oh, so fucking
Oh,
good.
it's shocking.
And
Just-
the neck stretching, and then the head falls off the edge of the tail. Like, what?
And all the green. It's the green. Like, what in your body is that green? Nothing. But you get these bladders coming through and the wet and the all right, it's one thing like, all right, hey, we got to make it happen. We're going to have it slide down. No, we're going to have the eyes opening and the mouth like crying in pain silently as it goes down. I'm like, fucking genius makeup effects. Like, oh my God.
Dude. And when the head gets up and runs away, oh, fuck you, or whatever the dude says.
Oh, God, you gotta give this one right. You gotta be fucking kidding me. You gotta be fucking kidding.
Me. Oh my God. I literally, and I shit you not, I fucking clapped. I clapped. When the head got up and ran out the door, I went, oh my fuck. Oh.
Well, there's
magic.
also your 6 degrees of tribute. It was in the new It movie. A head did the same thing. And they said the same thing. Bill Hader says it. Bill Hader's character is like, you gotta be fucking kidding. And I'm like, that was the
Yeah.
tribute back, as Richard Mazur is in the original Thing miniseries. So there's your stupid connection.
Right.
I saw the thing at the theater, at the theater, and I told Delin it was like a reboot of Stranger Things. I thought I thought it was good. I mean, it was entertaining, but it just reminded me of Stranger Things.
I mean, everything,
You know?
anything that has kids on bikes in the '80s is going to be Stranger Things now.
Right.
They killed that trope.
Didn't they have some of the same actors? I believe, like the
Yeah, Finn Wolfhard was in that.
Yeah,
it was
Wolfhard.
Yeah,
Wolfhard.
But
yeah,
that
it was-
spider scene. Oh God, just who again? You know, all right. What do we need? I need a head. What do you want it to do? Be a spider? What do you mean? I want it to grow legs and tentacles and want it to walk away. No, people will laugh at that. No, they won't.
no,
No, they won't.
No, they won't. And the tentacle tongue, and it comes out and it wraps itself around the chair and pulls itself away. It's like, what is that?
So good.
It's so good.
It is
And
fucking long.
and Rob told a story about how he accidentally blew up the set because all that stuff that was in the he was like, it was chewing gum, it was paint thinner, it was like all this stuff. And then of course Carpenter says, well, you know, the body's on fire, so we should put a flame bar underneath it. And so they're not thinking about the fact that this place is filling up with paint thinner fumes. And
Oh, man.
my God.
they light the fire bar and a big explosion happens, and they were like, okay, I guess we need to reset for tomorrow.
Oh my God.
So the scariest scene in it for me is when the crazy kid carves his name into the fat kid's stomach. Right?
Henry Bowers.
That's
Yeah.
fucked up. That's fucked up, man. That was fucked up. All right.
It is fucked up. All
Fucking
right.
psycho.
It is terrible. All right. So paranoia and distrust is at an all-time high. And McReady, now you've got me saying his name.
no.
God damn it. God
It's
damn
okay,
it.
Delin. You can call him McReady. You know.
McReady demands everyone takes a test to determine who's infected. Everyone will give a blood sample, and then those blood samples will get poked with a hot piece of wire. The theory is that each part of the thing will try to survive independently, and therefore the blood would transform to defend itself. Clark makes an attempt on... now I'm just going to say his name wrong every single time.
McReady.
On Mac's life with a scalpel. He is shot and killed by Mac. Everyone is tied up, including the dead Clark and Cooper, while the test is performed. Windows is the first to be tested, and turns out he's still human. Mac arms him with another flamethrower to torch anyone who might be a thing. As Mac continues the test, testing the dead bodies of Clark and Cooper, whom were both not infected, so Sally died before they were even infected, he openly accuses Gary of being a duplicate, but instead finds that Palmer, played by David Clennon, is a Thing clone. As Palmer transforms, Mac's flamethrower misfires, and Windows hesitates to kill the Palmer Thing. And then the Palmer Thing entire head splits open and turns into a giant mouth and bites Windows' head, which was quite the scene because the body's flopping around and it was something else.
It was the only effect in the movie that was goofy looking.
It was a little goofy looking.
With the legs over on his head.
It's like,
it looked like a pair of jeans with like some stock stuffed in it and a pair of sneakers on it. But I remember when I was actually watching it and I said to myself, don't look right at it because I love this movie.
Yeah, kind of look at it from the side of your eye. It's fine.
I'm like, it's fine.
So Mac manages to get his flamethrower working and sets the Palmer Thing on fire, which crashes through a wall and ends up dying in the snow when Mac blows it up with a stick of dynamite. Mac loves his dynamite. He's then forced to torch Windows with the other flamethrower because he's now infected and the thing is starting to assimilate his body over there in the corner. So, I mean, honestly, as gross as the Palmer Thing is and the biting of the head, to me, the thing that was the most intense was actually the testing, waiting to see. Like, it's like, that's crazy to me.
That scene, that for me that scene is the most memorable scene in this movie for me. Is that, like, I almost got hives thinking about it. You know what I mean? Just like, and literally every time he's got the thing, like, you hold your breath. You're like, you know what I mean? Oh, yes.
Again, sound design. It's funny. We did a screening with some friends a couple of years ago. We served Jello shots in petri dishes.
Nice.
So that was our favorite.
Nice.
But yeah, that scene is just, And the best part about it is watching it, I always look for like, all right, where's the fake hand? And they actually do introduce the fake hand twice before it actually jumps through. So it's like you're used to it. They familiarize you with that, with the look of it. So it's again, Carpenter just misdirection. You're looking at his face as he's yelling at him, and all of a sudden, just boom.
Yeah.
It is Palmer is the weakest of the looking, but again, eyes popping out, disgusting. Oh, there's no way a human body has as much blood in it. Just shooting out of this head splits. Oh, two things. One is always bugs me, and I forgot to talk about it earlier. This for a research facility in Antarctica, you should have at least 6 to 8 inch walls. They should have insulation. They should be strong. Gary
Sure.
taps the window in the beginning and shoots the guy in the head. It's like that. How is that holding heat? And there was a single pane window made out of candy glass. And then this
Yes.
thing, all right, super strength, whatever, runs through this wall like it's paper mache. And when they show the wall again, it's literally just flapping. I'm like, there's no structure to it. It's like, all right.
No insulation.
Yeah, it's like, again, I know I'm completely stupidly nitpicking, but it literally takes me out of the movie. It's like, that place would not last a winter in Antarctica.
No,
Right.
of course not.
But the high
Why
point.
did
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
why did they have so much dynamite?
Because they have to blast through Arctic ice, and I'm sure that was part of the
Right.
research. Is going, how far down does ice go? You get the organisms.
They had like an endless supply of dynamite.
Yeah, with those drafty windows, what's the heating bill like there?
But the thing that I feel saves the scene, and it's such a subtle thing, is that when everything, he throws the dynamite, blows it up, which is almost a little laughable. But he comes back in, and they cut to the windows mess, and he's just slightly starting to move, and there's this moan. It's like this. It's like, holy shit, it's still alive. It's like when it starts to happen, it's such a subtle thing, but it's literally, it horrifies me every time. It's like, when you think you're done with the big threat, holy shit, this is happening over here. That's how fast it works. It was a good, literally just the moan and the slurpee of it. It was just like that, terrifying.
What was so great about the blood test too, and it just goes back to the great writing of the movie, is you've been coming up with your own theories. Who's an alien, who's not an alien, who's been lying, blah blah blah. And now we're going to get to see these blood tests, and we're going to start getting some confirmation on our own theories, which again, it just draws me right back into the story. Like, there was never a moment when I wasn't thinking and plotting along with the story and coming up with my own ideas. And it's just so much fun. It's so much fun.
So, your theory, when did Palmer get turned? When did he get infected? He was not part of any autopsy scenes. Dog wasn't near him. The only thing I could think of is he kept passing joints around to different people and everybody's smoking.
Oh,
so that's the only thing I can think of.
That's a good point.
You almost have to just wonder if everybody was infected, like, very early in the movie. It just feels like nobody is taking any measures to stop this thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Matt's throwing dynamite at people. Come on, you can't get much more intense than that.
I mean, but Max also had a flamethrower and never torched anybody except the guy outside in the snow. It's like, so many opportunities for there to be a murder-suicide mass to just end this thing, and nobody does it. Right to the very end, when they're like, let's just get shit-faced to wait for the rescuers to come and fucking, they'll take the old planet over. It's like, how about we both eat a bullet right now and stop this thing? Nope.
Well, they say that the fire, I mean, we're jumping ahead, but they say that the fire is keeping them warm for now because the place is burning, but eventually that fire is going to go out and they're going to freeze to death.
Yeah,
so
and if they're aliens, they'll go into hibernation just like they did last time. And the
hibernation? Hibernation,
okay,
is that?
Okay, McRary.
Oh, it's okay,
Yeah. Hey, it's okay,
Oh, hey, how you doing?
Mark Wahlberg.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah,
It's
but
okay.
I got to be honest with you too. At the very end of the movie, and Mac takes a drink out of the bottle and hands it to Childs, and Childs drinks right out of the bottle. It's like, if he's infected, you're now infected, you
Yeah.
dumbass.
Yeah. So now they
Like,
both have coronavirus.
oh Jesus Christ! All right, moving on.
Yeah. Okay, McReady.
Mac and the three remaining survivors, Childs, Gary, and Knowles, played by T.K. Carter, are revealed to not be infected. While ordering Childs to stay behind to watch the camp, Mac, Gary, and Knowles go to check on Blair to give him the blood test and discover that the shed is empty. Blair has escaped through the floor and was secretly building a small spacecraft in the tunnels under the camp, which...
There's a spacecraft. Where's
Like,
he going in
what?
that thing?
I mean, again, this... I'm not going to tear this movie apart, but this was stupid. Anyways, I don't get it. They're confused when they see Childs running off into the storm, but at that moment, the compound's power suddenly turns off. It is then that they realize that Blair is the last thing creature and that it wants to freeze into hibernation until the rescue team finds it, since it has no way out. Finally realizing how pervasive the infection is and that there's no chance for survival, it's proposed that they blow up the base to prevent the thing from freezing again. Mac, Knowles, and Gary begin to set fire to the complex with Molotov cocktails. So, Des, I had a hard time believing that Blair found a way to build a little spacecraft with what he had in the shed. I mean, granted, I guess he was getting let out and was collecting things from around, but like, where did those tunnels come from? Did he make that tunnel? Like, he's been out there for like what, like 12 hours,
Exactly.
if even.
Like,
it
the
was
spaceship.
you could have
There's no
let
way
that
he's
whole thing
sitting in
out.
that. There's no way he's getting in that spaceship. It was like fucking a foot by a foot by a foot. The thing was
It was
tiny.
like a Lego spaceship.
It was like a Lego spaceship. Brimley's not getting in that thing.
I mean, quite frankly, they could have just left the vehicle out of it and just had the door open, and they could have been like, where did he go? You know, like, that was more than enough.
Yeah. So, I mean, I the only thing I can usually go with is like, all right, when we see the what he turns into at the end, he's pretty massive.
Yes.
He blows through the floor, does all that. So you got to figure, all right, he had that ability to just throw a tentacle down and create the area, and then shrink back up into Wilford Brimley. And if he was getting in and out, that's what they said. He's like, he must have built this out of parts from the helicopter. So they saw parts from the helicopter that were outside in there. What bugs me is they needed to bring flares down with him. There's no fucking light source down there. That he built that in the complete darkness. That's what impressed me. And as far as we've been seeing so far, the thing does not have night vision. So it's like, that's my stupid part of the thing. Stupid complaint with it.
It would have been better if they had found like blueprints for a spaceship he had been drawing up.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
But again, I never went, oh, give me a break. I was like, cool, he's building a fucking spaceship. I was fine with it.
Then no one's gonna fit in, yeah. And
I was fine.
I did like when they came out to ask him questions, he had the noose next to his head.
Yeah,
like,
so good.
He's like, I'm gonna do this. It's like I want to come back in. I hear things out here, you know.
Yeah, so good.
Weird thing.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. You got to think he's probably hearing all sorts of crap out there, even if it's just in his head. No, thank you. All right. So in venturing down into the basement of the camp to set the TNT charges, Gary is killed by the infected Blair. Knowles disappears and is never seen again. Mac comes face to face with the huge tentacle Blair thing, which destroys his detonator. In a last-ditch effort, Mac throws a lighted stick of dynamite at it. Both the thing and the rest of the compound explode, but Mac survives. He stumbles to his ruined shack to find Childs there, who claims he had seen Blair and had gotten lost in the storm running after him. Neither of them know whether the other is the thing, and they both sit opposite each other, ready to kill the other at the first sign of a problem. They take swigs from a bottle of whiskey as the camera shows a wide shot of the camp in flames. Both men, exhausted and wary of each other, sit among the burning wreckage, waiting for the fires to go out and the winter weather to consume them. And that is the end of our movie. Like I said, if one of the is the thing and the other one isn't, you're swapping spit on the bottle, so you're an idiot. But I suppose you're dead anyways at that point.
Yeah, they were all doing the ultimate sin in horror movies. They kept splitting up. I mean, especially in this movie, it's like you can't do that. But again, I never questioned it. I was like, fuck it.
I mean, it's funny. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna just say that I found that it's almost, and again, I'm not picking apart this movie because I love it. It's almost a bad ending because it's like, yeah, like if one of them is the thing and then they freeze, like Des was saying, somebody eventually is going to be like, what happened to Outpost 31? And they're going to go there. And then it's going to happen again. It
Yeah.
almost doesn't feel like you actually stopped it, you know?
Oh,
Right.
Right.
So it's a little touch of like, I don't like that ending. But at the same time, it's like, it's also super open-ended. So you can kind of make your own decision as to what's going on, you know?
I loved it. As they're drinking, you're going to get that dum, 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 dum. It comes
Yeah.
up again. You're like, so there it is.
Yeah.
There's your fucking music. There's your answer. They fucking
Yeah.
infected.
Yep.
It's spreading.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Carpenter has finally come out and said what the ending. Well, The Thing was part one of his Apocalypse trilogy. So you have The Thing, you have In the Mouth of Madness, and you have Prince of Darkness. He meant to be those as kind of a trilogy, loosely threaded together trilogy for the end of the world. And each one ends like this. They all end on sort of a cliffhanger. You know, is it real? Is it not real? Is it a nightmare? Is it not a nightmare? Are they infected? Are they not infected? But this is the only one Carpenter's come out and said the child is infected. Like, how did you miss it? And everybody's like, what are you talking about? And it's exaggerated. Every time you see McCready sitting down there drinking, anything he says, a monster amount of breath is coming out. You see it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything child says, no breath at all. There's literally nothing coming out of his mouth in any scene that he speaks, sitting across from McCready.
I'm going to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and watch it too. That's
You
cool.
know what? I'll bet that's the scene where they were having Kurt Russell blow the cigarette smoke to make it obvious, and I just didn't pick up on it.
It's huge how much he has, and there's literally nothing coming off him. So it's one of those things like the way Kurt Russell looks at him, it's like he sees it, he knows he's won. So, but he's like,
so why didn't he shoot to kill him and then kill himself?
Because he was waiting to see. I took it as he was waiting to see, and honestly, I don't remember if this is like a weird fever dream. I am 99.9% sure somewhere in one of my boxes or editions, it came with a comic book with a sequel of where it goes after that scene. So I know it continues. I don't know what happened. I don't remember. I tried to look for it today, couldn't find it. So I'm gonna have to do some research on that for a follow up. But it does go a little further. So
I'm interested.
Yeah, because there was a two issue comic of The Thing from Another World, but I don't remember if it picks up from there or picks up from the sequel. So I'll let you know.
Interesting.
All right.
Cool.
Well, let's do some final thoughts on this and some scores.
You want to do
and
the recasting couch?
Yeah, and some recasting couch. So, all right, the recasting couch. I'll go first. What do you guys think I'm going to do here today?
You're going to pick Chris Christopherson.
And I'm going to replace Kurt Russell with Chris Christopherson.
Saw that coming from a mile away.
Okay, Mickey, who are you replacing and with who?
Okay, I have a couple actually.
Oh,
all right.
I was thinking about this. So I think that, and forgive me because I don't know the names of the actors that played them in The Thing, but I think guy that played the dog handler, I think Giovanni Ribisi would have been a good one for him.
Hey, I like that.
That's good.
And then for Palmer, I thought John Krasinski would have been good.
Interesting. Okay.
And then I have two more. I have for Windows, and actually this was my husband's idea, Pete Davidson.
I would love that. Yeah.
I can't take him seriously. I as much as I enjoy him for who he is, I can't get behind anything except you're a fucking doofus. I wouldn't worry about him. I wouldn't worry about him. I worry about Windows in this.
And then my last one is I think that Jennifer Aniston should play The Thing.
Awesome.
Wow.
All right, give me two more then. I'm going to put Mr. T in for Childs. Okay. And you know the stoner guy? I'm going to take the other guy that looks just like him with the flight jackets from the A-Team and just swap them out. They look exactly like each other. So there you go.
That's funny.
Oh my goodness.
Tony, recasting couch. Who do you got?
I'm terrible at these because I always look at everybody who they are. The only weak performance I feel is is Gary as the leader. And when you brought up
Yeah.
Chris Christopherson winning an Oscar for 48 Hours, I'm like, Nick Nolte would be good as the grizzled leader.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
I'd
would
take
like that.
I'd
that's
take
all I
that.
could really think of. Everyone else, I think, really does a great job.
Hey, there you go. That's a pretty good answer. I think over the last 40 hour and 44 minutes, my Mark Wahlberg has gotten better. Okay, Delenn,
shit.
who do you got on the casting couch?
Oh my God, it's certainly not Mark Wahlberg.
Oh,
Um,
fuck. got
I
some
only
work to do.
recast one person. I recast Palmer, the stoner, and
Yep.
I recast him with Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon, huh?
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take some Matt Dillon.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like Outsiders era Matt Dillon, like, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd take that.
All right,
sure.
thanks. This week I got one right instead of getting the stink eye from you.
Yeah. Well, I would say that I have got my work cut out for me tomorrow. I'm going to have to listen to the whole podcast and trim this bitch way down. Yeah, but that was fun. That was good. So let's do our rewatch scores. So I will start us off. I'm going to give this a perfect 5 because this is the perfect mix of horror and sci-fi. I loved every moment of it. And yeah, it's fucking great. And it's 1982. That has to come into fucking consideration. So it's a 5 for me.
All
Delenn?
right. It's a 5. I'm not even
It's a
going to
5.
mince words. It's a fucking 5.
Okay, Mickey?
5.
A 5. And Tony?
See, I've only given Jaws and Creepshow a 5. It's rare. It's rare.
It's rare.
Totally 5.
It's a
Totally
5.
There's no way I can't.
All right,
It's a
guys.
5.
So this is, and with our scores, we're basically just telling you if it's a great movie or not. I
God,
mean,
yeah.
we don't keep a list like on the movie podcast. Fucking Ed keeps it down to like the Miller thing, and there's like the hit list, and we know
Oh,
where everyone.
you mean on our album podcast?
Yeah, on Breaking Vinyl, we like the guy who keeps the scores like so meticulous. Oh, 337.612, and then the other guy's got the fucking list and he keeps them all. Just slots it in right there. We don't do that. But yeah, sorry. So it's the perfect 5. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, what are you waiting for? Go see The Thing. It's a great fucking yeah.
Dun dun.
Dun, dun.
Like always, I love watching movies from opposite ends of the house with you, Delenn, and then talking about them. Mickey, I am so glad that you made the effort to come
Me too.
and be on the show tonight. Tony, like always, you give us a little stench of a real podcast when you're on the show, which I like.
And a lot of extra noise.
Yeah, even though you were building a Lego Death
Falcon.
Star and you were talking into a Coke can, it's okay. We will be back next week where we will be discussing The Fifth Element with Mickey. And I only allowed this to become an episode because I cannot wait to tear this piece of shit to shreds.
Really?
No.
Dude,
No.
come on.
No.
Get the fuck out of my cab. Are
Oh,
you kidding me?
dear. I'm
About
glad I'm
this-
not
No,
on
no,
that.
no.
Chris Rock with Chris Tucker with croissants on his head.
I love him.
And the president, okay, I go to Tito.
Oh,
I'm
dear.
just like, this is just, okay.
Listen,
Glenn,
you're
where
a
they
meat popsicle.
Hey, it's okay. Why don't you tell the listeners where they can find the show, Dylan?
All right. You can find us at Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie on Facebook? Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie on Twitter? Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie on Instagram? And you can email us at Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie at gmail.com.
All right. And I would also
Des?
like to give a shout out to our new French listener. I see you.
Oh, bonjour.
Yeah, bonjour.
I figured it out. Dez's Mark Wahlberg sounds like Mark Wahlberg trying to impersonate one of Adam Sandler's characters.
Oh, shit. Hey, it's okay.
Wow. That's like, you nailed that, Mickey. That's accurate.
Oh, shit. Listen.
It's like Mark Wahlberg doing Billy Madison.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Whoop-de-doo. So I'm going to make it my mission to perfect the Mark Wahlberg voice and pipe it into Disaster Piece Theater. There you go. All right, guys. Until next time, I have one question for you. Hey, did you ever see that movie?
So, thank you, everybody.
Oh my
Bye.
gosh,
Yeah.
that was fun.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, fuck.